We already configured one-to-many relation. Let me uncomment that, and we need to add migration to see what happens this time. Call the migration add one-to-many relation between book and publisher. And let's examine what it adds. Inside the books table, it is adding the column publisher ID and with the default value of 0. Nullable here is false, but then if you examine when we update the data, we do not have any value for the book detail. But then when we are updating the data, you can see for all the records, it is also updating the publisher ID with the value of 0. Now right now we do not have any publisher ID, so we don't even know what value to add here. But before that, if we scroll down, it is adding the index and it is adding the foreign key. Let me try to update database. We will see an error this time, but let me show that. And great. As I said before, when we have the update data, we are setting the publisher ID of 0. That violates the foreign key condition that we have because publisher ID does not have a record with the ID of 0. It needs to have a publisher to add the migration. So there are two things that you can do to solve the issue that we are having. You can either seed the publisher record with some data and then you can update the books with that publisher ID. Or you can delete all of the records that we have right here and then update database. If there are no records here, then it will not try to update any of the columns here and validation will not fail for the foreign key. To fix that, let me go back here and we can remove the migration right here. We want to remove this migration, we will add that again, but before we add that, we will seed our data. If we go to application DB context, where we have the has property, we can create 3 publisher. So model builder.entity on publisher.has data, I will create 3 publisher. And where we have the books, I will add the publisher ID. Let me copy and do that in all the places. 1, 2, and I'll add 3 as well. Perfect. With that, go to package manager and we will add that migration once again. This time we are seeding the data as well. Let me examine the migration here. Add column, update data. Now you see it is adding the correct publisher value. We have 1, 2, and 3. We have insert data for publisher, create index, and add the foreign key. Inside the add foreign key here, if a publisher is deleted, all of the corresponding books will be deleted. It depends on your business on if you want that. If you do not want that, you can also restrict. That way it will generate an error message if you are trying to delete. But again, it depends on your business condition. I will leave that as cascade here and let me try update database. And perfect, it completed successfully. Let me go to database and let me do select top 1000 from books. We have the publisher ID and publisher. That is also looking great. When we go back here and if we try to examine the diagram models here, perfect. Everything is looking as expected with one-to-many relation. When we retrieve book here, we can populate the publisher model to get details of all the related publisher. But what if we want to retrieve all the details of books that a publisher has published? To get that, inside the publisher here, we need a collection of book. So we'll say prop here, it will be a list of all the book, and let me call that books here. So basically when we have the publisher class, we can also populate this books list to get all of the list that the publisher has published based on the foreign key relation. Now how will we populate all of that? We will cover in the later videos. But we have added a navigation property here to retrieve all of the books that a publisher has published. That way we have one-to-many relation. Here we just have one publisher. Inside publisher, it can have multiple books. With that, our one-to-many looks in great shape. Let me continue with the final relation, which is many to many, in the next video.